Good evening. Welcome to the River Falls Municipal Utility Advisory Board on Monday, March 19th, 2018. We have a roll call, please.
Mashevsky,
Here.
Odine,
Here.
Richter,
Here.
Toom,
Here.
Swanson, and Peterson.
Moving on, looking for approval of the minutes of the January 15th meeting.
I move approval of the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Minutes are approved. Now's the time for any public comments. If we have anybody in the audience that would like to stand up and speak, now is the time. Just need to sign in. There's nobody. We'll move on. Moving on to the consent agenda, which is the acknowledgement of the following minutes. It's the West Central Wisconsin Biosolids Facility Commission minutes for 2 months, as well as the Powerful Choices meeting minutes for 3 months.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Consent agenda is approved. And moving on to new business, item number 2 is the memo and resolution recommendation and consideration for utility sponsorship opportunity at the Innovation Center.
Just a brief background. You have the memo and 2 resolutions in your packet giving you an option. I was approached to see if the utility would like to be a sponsor at the St. Croix Valley Business Innovation Center, the newly opened Innovation Center. As the utility, we are always in the economic development business. We feel economic development is great for our community. It is great for our municipal utility. And as a city-owned and city-operated municipal utility, this may be an opportunity for us to invest in our community, which in turn does pay off for our utility. As an example, the two of the current tenants out at our new Sterling Ponds Corporate Park, one of them is in our top 10 utility customers, and one is in our top 20 utility customers, brand new customers in River Falls. So again, I think as utility, we're in a fortunate opportunity to be locally, municipally owned, and we were asked to be a sponsor out there. And I think it's a great investment in our community, and we have the ability to be able to do that. And I would like to do it. I kind of leave it up to you guys whether you'd like to be a silver sponsor at a $55,000 level or a gold sponsor and have a boardroom named after River Falls Municipal Utilities at the $100,000 level. And I'll leave it up to you for discussion. I think both of them are worthy of our money. We can afford it. It would be split 3 ways amongst our 3 departments: water, wastewater, and electric. And really, I think that'd be a policy decision on your part, how deep you want to get into that. So, and I have 2 resolutions reflecting each of those. Do you have any questions regarding that?
Yes, I do. I've got the packet with the information about different sponsorship opportunities, and I'm just a little bit curious about the silver sponsorship. That's the big. Well, in my little map, it's the big green area. That's like the manufacturing floor space?
Correct. Yes. It'd be with sponsor of the manufacturing area.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
As a utility, I thought
It's
maybe
a pretty
that would
appropriate.
be rather appropriate.
It's appropriate, right?
Since they'll all be plugged into us while they're there.
Yeah. So.
And basically the way that each of these is laid out is it's about half the money up front and then the rest of it over 3 years.
3-year period, correct.
And then it's a 20-year.
20-year,
20-year, okay.
commitment, yep.
Okay.
Yes. So, I don't know if any of you have been out there. It's a great facility. I think starting to get occupied with tenants, and
I believe there's an open house coming up in April.
there is. Yes, there is. 12th.
I want to say the 12th also, so
Okay.
it must be the 12th.
So really, I don't have much more than the fact that, again, it seems fairly appropriate to have your local municipal utility investing in your community in this way. And the utility does, we will directly benefit from these companies that are able to succeed in the community as we are right now.
Well, is there any further well, we can still discuss. I will move approval of resolution number 2018-04, approving the silver level sponsorship of the light industrial and manufacturing space at the St. Croix Valley Business Innovation Center.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same. Resolution passes.
There we go.
All right.
Thank you. The community will be very appreciative of that.
Great.
Yeah, and I just want to comment that I do think it's appropriate that we have visual presence out there.
Moving on to item number 3 in the packet, which is the SWOT analysis of the water utility business plan.
These guys are almost like backed by popular demand. Brant?
Yes, we did such a good job last time.
Yeah, Brant and Jason did our electric utility business plan in 2017, and this year they're up to do the water and wastewater business planning, and they're here today to kind of break this group in on that. So,
Well, we lost 2 members, it seems, from last time.
I guess so we didn't do that good of a job.
Yeah.
so thank you, Brent and Jason.
Yep. So again, we're just here, kind of what we did last time. Just kind of we want to get what some of your opinions on what are some of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and trends that you might be seeing in the water side of the utility.
Yep. And just to clarify, this is just water. So basically, everything that comes out of the sink and before that, and everything afterwards is a different discussion.
So we want to ask, you guys were on a nice tour today, so we don't want to keep you much longer. But we want to ask that you can get about 5 per bracket here. We'll use some NCAA terminology today. So we want to ask, what do you think some of the strengths are of the water utility so far?
You have a couple examples in your packet, I think, that you can kind of peruse over and kind of get an idea of where we're coming from and some of the things to get your juices flowing to kind of help us get this to be pretty well-rounded, what we want to get done.
And then, can you see the screen pretty well? I'm sorry, we don't have our big easel this time.
This seemed easier.
Don't we have at least 4 aquifers?
3.
3.
That is-
Multiple aquifers, I think, is
That is definitely a strength.
a strength. Not that we had anything to do with that. But
Would you say that we have good operations, or how would you describe what we're currently doing from an operational standpoint, based on your perspectives?
Currently, we're up to date, and I mean, we've got new equipment to speak of for sure, and the staff has updated us along the way, so that's, as both facilities and staff, definitely a strength.
Consistently clean water supply and safe.
I was going to say we have 2 good examples right in front,
I
too.
was just going to
so.
say, let's throw staff knowledge and an adequate water supply on there.
In regards into trainings or anything along those lines, do you think we're all knowledgeable about what we do?
yes, knowledgeable staff.
See, we're on a roll here. Wow.
All right.
We really only need to come up with 3.
One more.
How about affordability?
There we go. Affordability.
Fair price.
Spelling was never my strong suit. Anything else for strengths, or do you want to move on to weaknesses? Yeah? Any weaknesses you see, deficiencies, or things that you've seen that maybe we could improve on a little bit more?
Well, you have it in our example, an aging infrastructure.
Another one that's on there is the communication to customers about cost of operations. Whoever came up with that one, was it one of you gentlemen? Can you just explain kind of what you were thinking on that?
It was kind of like the electrical deal. It was if we promote a system of conservation, but sometimes that can backfire on certain users. For example, for electricity, I might be wrong, but it's if you use a certain amount, you're classified as a commercial customer, but then if you go below a certain threshold, then you're then classified as a residential customer.
Or you move into a different class of commercial. So there's industrial class, CP1, CP2. There's different classes, but if you get into less of a usage, you get into a different class, which could mean a higher rate.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's confusing. Put that on there.
So, and that's the communication piece that's reflected there, is I don't think sometimes personally we're clear enough about how rates work and usage, and more education there could be beneficial.
You say we promote ourselves well, or think we need to do more of it in regards to the water utility?
I was going to say, I think they're promoting themselves well right now with that investment. So,
Anybody else have any weaknesses?
I mean, I'd put on weaknesses overall just customer understanding or education. I think there is opportunity there to better educate and let people know where the water comes from, how cheap it really is, how clean it really is, how it compares to bottled water. I mean, there are many things we could do on education levels.
mm-hmm.
On that, it's probably 6 months ago, there was a report that you had talking about how safe the water was here.
Consumer confidence report.
Did that go out in any manner other than, like, what did you guys do to
Yes, we're
promote that?
required to mail that out to all the customers
Okay.
every year. I think it goes in a bill stuffer,
Okay.
I believe.
When did we last have odd even watering time?
Not since I've been here, and I've been here 5 years.
Okay.
So I think there was a drought maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
Are we at a capacity point where that shouldn't be an issue other
Shouldn't
than
be.
extreme situations?
And I believe even right now in our city code, it does say there's odd even watering. I don't think anybody really adheres to that, and we haven't been enforcing that recently, but I even think to today that is in the city charter to do that. But we haven't, to your point, we haven't been enforcing that in the last 5 to 7 years. And on that note, too, we do check aquifer levels, and I've said it before, but our aquifers have always recovered, and they're recovered today to what they were 10 years ago. So, but during those droughts, there was some depletion, and then there was concern, and that's when we were actively, I think, asking for odd even watering or delayed watering, but not since I've been here.
Any more weaknesses?
Well, we can move on, I suppose. Opportunities. This to do with anything from infrastructure to monitoring, staffing, anything along those lines.
Do we have all our pumps on variable frequency drives now?
We do now at the wells. Yep, we just did well 5, and that one is yes.
Yeah, so that we took advantage of that
Mm-hmm.
technology
Yes.
opportunity.
But we keep looking for those types of opportunities.
Any technological advances that you're seeing out there that maybe we could be utilizing as an opportunity?
I know Ron had mentioned one in a meeting the other day about lining water lines. So we're lining sewer lines, and now there's a new technology that's starting out about lining water lines. So that might be a future opportunity.
Do we see leaking water lines? I know we have some that they break occasionally. Do we feel that we have some that actually are leaking or corroding?
Not that we're aware of. Sometimes you could have a leaking water line depending on the soil conditions. It might go down into the ground versus up to the top. So I'm sure we do have some. And if you look at our reports, that's always why we have a little more water pumped than used. It's probably because of some leaks. Though I talked to Ron Groth, our water superintendent today, and he said our leaks are not widespread. I'm sure there's some in the system, but not that widespread.
Yeah.
Probably a leakier sewer system than water system, potentially.
Right, I think that makes sense that would happen that way, but I don't know. Not an expert, but I think usually if the water lines, if they're sound, they stay sound until something big happens, and then you know it.
You're repeating something I've heard in an asset management class. Just because your water line is 70 years old doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah.
Not necessarily. It may be, but not necessarily. There's not a direct correlation sometimes.
Would you say we're still pretty well set capacity-wise for the business park to continue growing? And, I mean, large water users, we're set to deal with that as it happens?
We have the water volumes in our aquifers,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
Some of the other opportunities may be to increase water pressures in certain areas of town. That might be, we have some plans for that in 2021 to put a new tower in and a new some water lines out to Sterling Ponds. Those are opportunities to
Right.
continually increase pressures and volumes.
Right, so expanding our capacity to the north
North, yes,
and west.
yes. On the way future horizon is a water tower to the east, actually, too.
Oh,
Yeah. Kind of across the road to the north from Highview Meadows
Oh.
is where that next tower might go someday.
Well, and then we could use the two examples that you guys have, which is the proactive asset management, which Kevin mentioned, and then the leak locating technology. I'm just assuming that those are near and dear to the hearts of the people that work on staff.
Oh, yes.
So,
Which I happen to have a couple, or at the university we had a couple instances where we used your leak consultant, and he's very easy to get a hold of and get out, and does a very good job and at a good price, so helped us out a lot. It's kind of an interesting technology in itself too, almost simplistic in a way once you apply it, but yeah.
It's audio, isn't it?
Yeah, he can sit there and he can just by listening, putting his probe on the pipe, he can kind of tell you whether there's a leak, or he can tell if somebody flushes a toilet or something or whatever, you know.
No, it is pretty interesting though that they're able to, that is a leak detection method.
It is neat.
Fairly accurate too.
I thought for sure we had a leak, and I was dreading it, and he said, "No, you don't think you have a leak," and he turned out he was right. So,
anybody else have anything for opportunities?
move on to threats. This could be just to our general utility, or it could be just threats to water in general that you see as potentially an issue down the road.
So a micro, macro type of perspective right there.
So continued water quality and quantity.
Separate and make it two.
Oh, I should separate those and make it two. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you guys have on your list the shortage of trained workers. I assume that that's a
Ongoing challenge.
with all the utilities.
I could give one related to what Diane said on water quantity or quality is impacts on our aquifers out of our control.
Right.
It's kind of implied in what Diane said, but it could be.
Yes, whether it's runoff or severe weather or
Maybe a high
some
capacity.
high capacity
well,
wells
I mean,
start
right.
draining our aquifers.
Things out of our control.
Think we're gonna run out of water anytime soon?
No, like I said, our aquifers are good today and under current conditions. Another threat that we kind of heard about a couple of years ago on the state legislative level, the politics of somebody making it easier for an outside organization to buy municipal utilities or make offers. I suppose so on a political level, political threats. Yeah, I don't know how to phrase that. Diane, help me.
Threats to local control.
There we go, that's better.
And then the increased materials costs on here, is that just, I assume that's just the general nature of doing business. Everything
Yeah.
goes up every year. Okay. Does anybody have anything else?
Didn't have any problems getting the 5 on that one.
All right, and I guess finally, we're on to trends. Anything you're seeing that other places are doing that we could jump on the bandwagon with?
Well, you guys have high capacity wells on here. We just talked about that. I assume trend doesn't have to be a good trend.
Yes.
So that would definitely be one of the things that's happening. And you also, again, conservation on here. I'm just picking off the ones you guys have, by the way.
If you think they're important, then might
Yep.
as well.
We
And
didn't wanna
obviously,
say
you guys
them.
thought they were important too. So, that's obviously an ongoing thing that we always talk about and want our customers to do as well. So,
I guess in the last, pick a number of years, 10 years, 15 years, how has the cost of our water been trending compared to, inflation? Are we staying pretty level on our costs, or are our costs going up? Anybody have a feel for that? The price of water.
Oh.
I mean, what we have to charge our customers, basically.
And I think the price for water is directly proportional to our cost to deliver the water, so our fixed costs. Because I know our city administrator, Scott Simpson, always says, hey, the water's free. You just have to deliver it.
Yeah.
So, that is a good question. What are the trends of cost as compared to inflation?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're not going to price ourselves out of, people are always going to need water, but, hopefully we don't get to a point where people can't afford to pay their water bill.
Right.
And I don't see that as, I don't experience it personally, but I was just curious if we, if we had an idea if the cost are that particular utility, if that is rising faster than any other utility for the cost of it. Cost of
I'd like to
delivery.
make a statement on that. It's like our water, in my sales pitch, water is about just a little over $2 per 1,000 gallons, cold, fresh, delivered. It's a pretty good value. Bucks per 1,000. Even if it went to 4, I think that's still pretty good.
Is there any trend towards clean? I mean, we always want cleaner water, but we're at the point where, there's so many parts per million of this, so many parts per million of that. Is there
That's
any
good.
sense that that will get stricter over time, or
Yes.
it will continue to be
Yes.
more and more so?
That's
Okay.
really good, and that might not only be a trend, but a threat. I don't know if it's a threat, probably a trend of, you hit it right on the head, is more regulation, higher, more, what's the word I'm looking for? More,
filtration and whatever it
yeah,
takes. Yeah.
higher allowable limits.
Right.
So it's almost deregulation in a way, in a
Not
sense.
necessarily.
No, I think it's more, because, for example, let's give an example. Let's say before it used to be 1 part per million. There wasn't even equipment available to test higher than that. Now you have better testing equipment. Now we're to parts per billion, and so we have to have cleaner water due to higher standards. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. Higher regulated standards for our water. It's only going to become, the standards are going to have to get better. Not stay the same or get worse, probably trend to even get better.
Mhm.
Another trend would be recycled wastewater. A lot of businesses are doing that. I cheated and looked it up.
Even individuals are doing that.
But didn't we have
So-
somebody that was going to come into town? It's probably 2 years ago now. That was one of their things. But they were, I think it was a plating company, maybe.
Oh, yes.
I think
Oh, yeah.
Pioneer.
Pioneer, yeah.
Yep.
that they were going to be doing that.
Recycling their water.
Yep.
Anything else for the good of the order? Anything that came up that you want to talk about more, or anything along those lines?
We like to do this just to get a conversation going, and and we were talking a lot about leaks over there. But I mean, it's good to know that stuff, and because we can take this information then, and then we can apply it to the business plan, and then that business plan will then be used for 5 years, 10 years, however long the city wants to keep on doing the plan. But it's very valuable information that we take from here tonight.
Yep, it helps us understand where we need to go and how we can get there, and I think that this input that we get from you all and internal staff and then external stakeholders is very beneficial to making a well-rounded business plan, as you saw from the electric plan, I hope.
Great.
Great,
All right. Thanks a lot, gentlemen.
thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Moving on to, I assume, maybe Julie's going to go over 4, 5, 6, 7? Somebody is? Oh, no, Kevin.
Kevin is.
Oh, annual report. I was just lumping that all into the end there.
So each department in the city was put together an annual report from their departments this year. So in your packets, I presented you the 2017 River Falls Municipal Utilities Annual Report, and we're going to go through that right now, if I can pull it up. The objective of this annual report really is to be a coffee table turner. What I mean by that is, each one of these pages could have a book behind it. But what I want to do is give highlights of what we did in 2017. So if I can get through this in about 2 to 2.5 minutes, I would have met my objective. So that's what we're going to do tonight. There's your table of contents. Try to say a few nice words here. Again, we're striving to serve, and we're trying to pursue excellence and put our customers first. And I really wanted to say thank you to our customers and to our team who worked so hard to deliver these services. That was what it said here in the front. There's our mission statement. I'm just going to read the very last part of that. Again, we have one main purpose: to provide customers with safe and reliable electric, water, and wastewater services at the best overall value. Here's our team. Lene went out and took pictures of our team. Did a nice job with that. It's always good to be able to put faces with names. So that's our team. Financial summary. What I want you to get out of this page here is you can see that the left graph bar is higher than the right graph bar, which means we have a little more income than expenditures. And then the delta between those two is money that we invest into the future, capital improvement planning and things like that. So that by a quick glance, you can see financially we're doing pretty well. We should be a healthy organization. Power plant substation, that looks familiar. We just gave that a tour tonight. That was a $4.2 million investment out there, including that building, the transformer, the work, the switch gear, all the things you saw out there. Here's some, on the lower right picture, you can see some of our linemen working on those poles right across the road there as they make terminations on those feeders out there. We had the first full year of operation of our biosolids building at our wastewater treatment plant. And we made some assumptions going into the wastewater treatment plant of what kind of savings it would bring us. Well, here I just wanted to point out, after one full year of operation, you can see in energy savings, we saved almost $54,000. We hauled 850,000 gallons less of biosolids over to Ellsworth, and which resulted in the savings of almost $19,000. So just a couple of the savings highlighted. Those bottom two pictures there, the one on the left is the DAF unit in the old building. You can see how close that ceiling is to the top of that DAF unit. That was highly dangerous and very difficult to get into and repair. On the right, you can see Bill Swenson, our operator, up there on the scaffolding, a lot of headroom, very safe and much easier to operate and fix that DAF unit. So tried to highlight the safety. Sewer lift station, you folks earlier in 2017 approved that route right there for our future sewer line and the possible elimination of that lift station right there in the foreground. So that was the routing study. And then previously tonight I mentioned water and sewer going out to Sterling Ponds. Because again, we don't know what's going to happen in Sterling Ponds if a big customer is going to come out there in 2018 or 2019 and they need water and sewer. We want to be ready for them. This isn't scheduled to go in until 2021, but we had the project engineered in 2017, so it's on the shelf and ready to go, and we could turn that around fairly quickly if we get a large customer out there. So you can see the black line there on the bottom. That's the water and sewer that'll go down Paulson Road, then under casings that we put in under the interstate there. Trying to think ahead. There's the business plan that Jason and Brant did last year. You were involved in that. Had some good takeaways from that. SCADA systems, you were asking about that on the tour. You can see some of this equipment in there looks kind of familiar. You saw out there on the tour today. The picture in the lower left corner would be a screenshot of what Wayne or Ron or one of our electric or water wastewater guys would see using the SCADA system. RP3, well, I'm going to present this award a little bit later tonight at the very end, but we're very proud to say that we did get a designation for RP3 this year, and that's a big deal. I'm going to go over that in a little bit. We completed our solar landscaping plan. You can see a couple pictures there. We put on the screening and bushes, and if you didn't know that was there, I think you would drive by now and maybe not even notice it. So that turned out pretty nicely. Downtown holiday lighting. I joke with our guys, our electric crews on this. They do so many great things every year. I mean, they build $4 million substations and do all this great work, and they get judged on their lights. And I think this year they should hold their heads high. I think there was a lot of compliments this year on our lighting. And Logan, who's not here tonight, but Logan Snyder, he had the idea for the candy cane stripes in the trees, so we gave him a shout out in the annual report. Electric reliability. We're proud of this one as well. We're 99.9925% reliable. That means that's how much your power is on. And I have some comparisons in there. You can see that nationally it's 99.96 something, and then regionally 99.97 something. So you can see we're better than the nationally or regionally. Then also how we compare to municipals our size. I can't quite see that. My eyes aren't good enough. 99.982. So we're better than all the competition. That's maybe what I'm trying to say there. You can see squirrels are our largest outage. We had one big squirrel outage yesterday. Here's our yearly comparisons of outages and the customers who are affected. So this year we're going to have a big green bar again because yesterday we had just short of 2,000 customers affected in that 90-minute outage. Here, another one we should be proud of is our 4-year LED street lighting program. I know, Diane, you were here when we started that 4 years ago. We decided to convert our street lights from incandescent into LED lights, and we had a plan of doing about 70% of those over 4 years. We ended up doing 73% of those over 4 years with an annual savings of $11,500 plus to $27,500. So that's an energy cost and maintenance costs. So that is definitely working out, and hopefully people like the LED lights. Water inspections, I mean, we are inspecting our water daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. Ongoing, constantly inspecting our water, making sure it's safe. This one here, I had this in here. We fixed what we thought we had fixed our emergency phone number. So we had an issue last year where we discovered that internally, if you get more than about 7 calls at one time, it drops calls internally. So what we did, we partnered with my receptionist, and they're located in Eau Claire and in Florida. Our office we call to is in Florida. But they said, hey, if you give us a local number, we can house that number there, and they're able to take thousands of calls at a time until yesterday when everybody was getting a busy signal. So I was on the phone with them this morning, and they're checking with their IT. That shouldn't have happened. So we intentionally made a new after-hours emergency number so they're able to take many more calls at one time. Something happened yesterday, and it was a little bit frustrating. They gave us statistics this morning. They had like 3,700 calls, and she goes, "Oh, they're all very short duration." I said, "Yeah, that's because people were hanging up because they had a busy signal, and they kept trying to call back." So I think 40 people did get through. We knew there was an outage. Tim Wisty right here was out on that, and he got that repaired in about 90 minutes. So this one here, I thought we had it fixed, and if it will be fixed for sure, where people can call and at least get through and get a message that we're on it. That is our annual report. Just a great team of people. You look back in the beginning. I can't say enough about the people we have working in the water, electric, and wastewater departments. They care, they're here, they're dedicated, and I'm proud to be leading this group of people. So that's our annual report. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Moving on to 5, 6, and 7, which would be the finance report, utility dashboards, and the monthly utility report. Or actually, maybe we'll just do 5 and 6. I don't know. Was that?
Lost track. You received some financial statements in your packet, which were not quite as helpful as they should be. We didn't have a budget amount, so there was nothing to compare to. So I apologize for that. I did do some number crunching this afternoon, and each of these funds, electric, water, wastewater, is running about where it should be at this time of the year. It's about from 15 to 17% of the budget. So we will get that fixed, obviously, for next month. But I did want to point out some things for year end of last year. All 3 of the funds, and fortunately 4 of the funds, stormwater, all finished in the black. And some of those funds will be used to reduce our borrowing costs for 18. The electric and the wastewater for sure. Water, we're just doing just fine with that. We don't have any borrowing plans, so that one will be used for infrastructure type things. But the stormwater fund, Diane, you might remember this, that we had always planned a 3% increase. It's been in our budget for probably 3 or 4 years. Well, due to growth, we don't need to do that anymore. It's like, oh, I'm glad we waited. And also, it along with the electric fund is still debt free. So we're in good shape on the stormwater electric. I think we've got good plans going forward, and everything looks fine. So, if there are any questions, I can try to answer them.
Thank you, Julie.
Good to know.
Thank you. And finally, we have the monthly utility report.
I have just one thing extra to add on the utility report that I'd like to do right now, if I may. I'd like, is that
Yes,
what you-
please.
is, I'd like to do a presentation. Tim and Wayne, Tim, come on up. I don't know if you were aware, but we did get our RP3 award for reliability. We are a platinum member, so you can take that. Congratulations on your hard work on that. And I want to let everybody know, so to get this award, this is the application packet for this award. It takes us about 2 months to fill this out. You get this for the reliability, safety, which is a huge one, training, our finances, and our workforce development. There's a lot that goes into earning this award. I know this doesn't mean a lot to the average customer, but to industry people and people like Tim and Wayne in our finance department, it's a big darn deal. And I really appreciate your hard work with that and dedication. And these awards don't happen without people like yourself. So, Tim, thanks again. I appreciate your hard work. And
No, all the things you listed off are obviously very important. The two that I really hit home with us on the cruise, it isn't just the electric crew, it's the whole utility. Obviously, I'm the only guy here accepting it, but none of it is possible without having our management and the team above us and you guys supporting. Number one, first and foremost, was Kevin and Wayne always tells myself and our workers is that safety is number one. And we have to be able to go home to our families at the end of the day. And it means a lot for us to hear that and also be able to have tools to get the work done is huge. I know a lot of crews, they go to different trainings throughout the state and the places that I've worked before where we didn't have as nice tools. And I always joke that my goal as a line worker was to be the weakest lineman in the state. Now what does that mean? It means I want to have tools that make it so my muscles don't wear out, and that when I get done doing this career, I'm still in one piece. And it really helps. So thanks for the support.
yeah, hey, again, nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tim.
We'll do the handshake.
Great job, guys.
Yep, thanks. You make us proud.
All right. Does anybody have any announcements? All right. Everybody looking for a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We are adjourned.